Hello handheld gamers, it is Trav again with Handheld Horizon, and today I am going to be reviewing the Retroid Pocket 5. And exactly like the title says, yes, I did sell my ODIN 2 to buy the RP5. Now, do I regret it? Stay tuned to find out. First things first, what is the Retroid Pocket 5? The RP5 is a $220 Android-based gaming handheld that can emulate all of your favorite consoles all the way up to the Nintendo Switch. If you have ever used an Android device, getting up and running with the RP5 is going to be a piece of cake. You can essentially think of the RP5 as a high-powered Android phone with a really high-quality gamepad built in. Now, I'm going to be doing this review a bit different today. I usually go through each different aspect of the device I am checking out and tell you the pros and cons to each different category. But because the Retroid Pocket 5 is so great and has so few actual flaws, instead I'm going to be highlighting some of the standout features that I have experienced in my time with this device. And there are quite a few. The RP5 is not lacking when it comes to standout features. In fact, this might be the most well-rounded, dedicated emulator I have ever reviewed on the channel. The funny thing is that I haven't published a video in a while, and the reason for that is because all of my free time has been dedicated to the RP5, and not because I feel like I have to mess with it in order to get a review out or anything like that, but because I have been absolutely enamored with this device and have been pouring essentially all of my free time into it. So let's get into it with the number one standout feature of this device, the display. The 5.5-inch 1080p OLED screen stands right up there with the best, most vibrant displays I have ever seen on a handheld device. This display really jumps out at you. When comparing to something like the ODIN 2, the RP5 just absolutely blows it out of the water. Playing my old PS2 and GameCube games on this device really breathes new life into these classic games. The best way I can put it is like this. Have you ever been thinking about a game from your childhood that you loved so much, and in your mind's eye, yes, the game is old, but it is still very beautiful. You remember it in the best way possible. And when you go back and play that game, you realize, oh man, this game looks very dated. I was totally remembering this with those rose-colored glasses on. But the RP5 makes those same games that might look dated on original hardware actually play like how you remember them. That explanation might sound a bit weird, but honestly that's the best way I can put it. And because the RP5 has some pretty solid performance, you can upscale your old games to about 3x resolution, which is right around 1080p for both the PS2 and the GameCube, which is 1080p is the built-in resolution of this device. Moving on, the next standout feature of the Retroid Pocket 5, the design and the overall look of the handheld itself. Here I'm talking about ergonomics, colors, overall look and feel. Retroid definitely moved in a new direction with the RP5, pretty much leaving the old design language in the past and moving on to this new, improved, more ergonomic design. Here is some footage of the old Retroid Pocket 3. This comes from a review I did in the past. You can see it's a bit more squarish and has a completely flat back. And while this wasn't the worst in terms of comfort, it does not hold a candle to this new design. Everything about this device feels well thought out and purposeful. It feels like there is no wasted space. And best of all, the RP5 is pocketable. Now, it's not going to fit in your skinny jeans, but if you are an old person at heart like me, it will definitely fit into your loose-fitting jeans, sweats, or even the hallmark of our hobby, the coveted cargo shorts. I could probably carry about 7 Retroid Pocket 5s in my cargo shorts, so yeah. So anyway, I chose the GameCube colorway, which immediately stood out to me. I knew as soon as the colors were announced, this was the one that I was going to go with. It does come in 3 different colors, a 16-bit, a black, and a basic white. I think the next best color beside the GameCube version is the plain black. And the reason for this is because this is an OLED screen. So if you are playing on a console with a square aspect ratio, the bezels essentially disappear against the black background of the RP5 front glass if you chose that black colorway. I was a bit worried about the placement of the analog stick under the D-pad here, But in my time with the RP5, this has not bothered me nearly as much as I thought it would. In fact, for me, it's really just a non-issue. Now, some of my fellow YouTubers have been really bugged with this analog and D-pad setup here, so it might bug you too. I just don't want to sweep it under the rug when it might actually be a real issue for some people out there. Also, I want to give the RP5 the big hands seal of approval. I was a bit skeptical that because this device is smaller than many handhelds I use these days, I thought that it would be uncomfortable, but so far that has not been the case. For someone like me with big-ish hands, it controls like a dream. I think it really does strike the perfect balance between size and usability. When I reviewed the ODIN 2, I praised nearly everything about it except one big issue. The fact that it really wasn't pocketable, and it was more of a lap-held device instead of a handheld. And for that reason, I would prefer to just get out my Steam Deck or ROG Ally instead of the ODIN 2. In my opinion, the ODIN 2 was just a bit too big to be considered handheld. But the RP5 really does strike that perfect balance. I do feel like this is a handheld device. It can fit in your pocket. You can take it wherever you want to go. So overall, the design, construction, and colorways of the Retroid Pocket 5 are superb, and a huge reason I decided to pick up an RP5 myself. I'm trying to see something here. Do me a favor and leave a quick comment below and tell me why you picked up the Retroid Pocket 5, or the reason you plan to pick up one in the future. I want to see the big selling point of this device. So let's move on to performance and battery life. So like I mentioned in the intro, the RP5 can emulate all the way up to the Nintendo Switch. It has plenty of power in this small form factor with the Snapdragon 865. In my time with the Retroid Pocket 5, I have been playing mostly PS2, GameCube, and Switch, and have been having a great time. Something to note though is while the RP5 can play Switch, the compatibility is generally very hit or miss. As a general rule, most of the lightweight 2D games are going to be okay, while the bigger, more intense 3D games like Tears of the Kingdom are going to give you a hard time. Now keep in mind, this is just a general rule, so there will be exceptions. Going back and playing some of my favorite PS2 games on here has been so much fun. I didn't realize how much I missed NFL 2K5 or Tiger Woods PGA Tour 2005, but my goodness, these are still some of the best sports games out there. Fun fact, I have the 2K25 mod set up here, so I have modern textures and players on the original 2K5 engine. It is so much fun. I will probably link the information for that below. GameCube is also a dream on here. The RP5 can pretty much play any GameCube game you can throw at it, and if you add in some HD texture packs or widescreen gecko codes, you are going to have an even better time. Low-key Game Boy Advance is also a great console to play on the RP5. The OLED screen really makes the colors of the GBA pop off the screen. I just started up a run of Emerald Sea Glass, a new-ish Emerald ROM hack, and it looks and plays so great on the Retroid Pocket 5. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. The RP5 is not as powerful as the ODIN 2, and it came out almost 2 years later. So what gives? While this might seem like a dumb move at first, I have come to realize that the RP5 sits in a great sweet spot in terms of performance, battery life, and portability. I think some people bought the ODIN 2 thinking that it was essentially going to become their new Switch Lite, but the compatibility and emulation performance is just not there. So what you end up with is a machine with a bunch of extra, unused power for most applications. Now here comes the Retroid Pocket 5. Smaller, less powerful, and by all measurements a downgrade in performance compared to the ODIN 2. But wait, the RP5 can run GameCube and PS2 at 3x resolution, has nearly the same Switch performance as the ODIN 2, has access to win later and a 5+ hour battery life. Now you can see where I'm going with this. The RP5 can run essentially all the same stuff as the ODIN 2, and as a bonus has a much better screen, a better design, and it fits in your pocket. A win-win in my book. The Retroid Pocket 5 is so insanely customizable. This is the kind of device that you can truly make it feel like it's uniquely yours. Along with all of the great Android customizability like front ends, particular emulator versions, and things like custom scraping, the RP5 is the pick for you if you want third-party support. Because of the RP5's success and popularity, there are so many options out there for accessories, custom buttons, thumbsticks, mods, the list goes on and on. Even Retroid sells replacement buttons and things like custom backplates. If you are the type of person who likes to mod and customize your handhelds, there is probably no better device to buy right now. The other great thing about the RP5, it's literally just an Android phone. So you can do all the things you love and that you would do on your smartphone right on this device. Internet browsing, social media, YouTube, and even apps like Netflix are readily available via the Google Play Store. I've actually been using the RP5 as a little Netflix machine, and the OLED screen really makes your content pop. The list of custom launchers for the RP5 is vast. Some of the best are Emulation Station, Daijisho, and Beacon. The front end I enjoy the most on the RP5 is Emulation Station, and that is mostly because of the themes that are available to download for free. Super simple and easy to use. A super underrated and relatively unknown feature of the RP5 is Windows emulation. This is not something I ever thought I would be doing on an Android device, but yep, I am using this device for Windows emulation. There are a few different options for Windows emulation on the RP5, but the one I have been using is GameHub, an app that you can go and pick up from the makers of the GameSir controllers. I will make sure to link that below. It's as easy as copying your game files from a Windows PC directly to your RP5 or the SD card that you put in your RP5, and boom, you are good to go, playing some lightweight Windows games on your Retroid Pocket 5. So I began this video talking about how I sold my ODIN 2 in order to pick up this device. Do I regret it? Absolutely not. I see this as a more vibrant, pocketable, and well-designed device all around. Yes, the ODIN 2 has more power, but do you need all that extra power? No. As of now, that extra power goes to waste in nearly every reasonable use case for an Android handheld. For all intents and purposes, the Retroid Pocket 5 can play all of the same games that the ODIN 2 can. Maybe the ODIN 2 gives you a bit more performance for Windows emulation, but the gains are going to be minimal, not to mention the price. The ODIN 2 is going to run you an extra $100 at a minimum. For price to power, the Retroid Pocket 5 is the clear winner versus the ODIN 2. Now, to be fair, the ODIN 2 is going to give you some more battery life, in many cases about an extra hour. So if battery life is the only reason you are buying one of these Android handhelds, then go for the ODIN 2. Thank you so much for watching today. If you have comments, please leave them below. If you think I can do something better with my YouTube videos, I would really appreciate that feedback. Put those in the comments as well. As always, do all the YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe for more handheld gaming content. And your support really does make a difference for a small YouTube creator like me. I really appreciate it. Have a good one, dudes. And remember, life's a garden. Dig it.